Seeker. Written by Suzana Thompson. Performed by Heather Firth. Chapter 46. When we get to the restaurant, I wait for an opportunity to speak alone with Shelby in the bathroom, so that I can warn her about Mason. I have no qualms about telling her about his college lifestyle, and I also mention his parents' divorce. I don't think he's ready for a relationship right now. "Thanks for telling me that," she says gratefully. "I didn't know he was dealing with anything like that. With the way he is, you can't tell that anything's bothering him. I wouldn't be able to hide it like that." "He's always had that personality," I state, thinking about how charming and playful he can be, as well as how ornery and exasperating. Tyler was pure fun, but Mason can annoy the hell out of you sometimes. "Did he say something to upset you?" she asks perceptively. I don't want to tell her how he questioned my feelings for Silas. "He's just talking out of his ass," I say, repeating a phrase my dad often uses. Shelby bursts out laughing. "You should tell him that. He'll have a comeback for it. He always does," I complain. "You can't say anything without him turning it around on you." "Yeah," she agrees and blushes. I'm wondering how he used her words against her to make her blush like that. She had said that he'd been flirty, so he probably turned some innocent remark she made into something suggestive. I'm guessing she's never dealt with a guy like him before. Chloe would have flirted back with him, but Shelby is too shy to do that. I would usually try to encourage her, but I think she's better off not engaging in flirtation with Mason right now. His attitude is not ideal for romance. I adjust my own attitude after my talk with Shelby. I've done all I can to warn her away from Mason, and I've appealed to him to be decent to her. Now I'm going to focus on being a happy bride. People are smiling as I walk by in my wedding dress, and I smile back. A little girl stares at me in awe, and I imagine having an adorable child like her. Mason stands up to pull out Shelby's chair for her when she returns to her seat at the table, and he smirks at me. "Nice," he mouths with a mischievous glint in his eyes. I shrug in response and sit down beside Silas. He hasn't thought to stand up and pull out my chair for me, but his smile is warm and genuine. I gaze back at him with an answering smile, before turning my attention to my mom, who is seated on the other side of me. After what Mason said about my parents, I want to spend this time before I leave them radiating love toward them. Silas and I will have plenty of time to focus on each other later when we're alone. I promise to send my parents lots of pictures from the Bahamas. Mom reminds me again to make sure I put on sunscreen and reapply it often. "You have to be careful with your fair complexion," she tells me, like I haven't been living with my fair complexion my whole life. "Stay with Silas," Dad urges me to my surprise. "Don't go anywhere without him. There have been some attacks on tourists down there. It's not safe to be alone." "I'll stay with him," I promise. "And I'll put on sunscreen. Stop worrying, please." "Don't even think of going swimming with the sharks," Mom admonishes me. I shudder at the mere thought of it. Why would anyone want to do that? "Why wouldn't you want to do that?" Justin counters. "It would be the most amazing thing ever." "It's dangerous," Mom declares. "It is not," he argues. "They bring bait for the sharks to eat, and they don't bother the divers." "How do you know that?" Mom asks. "I looked it up," he replies. "It's something I want to do." He hit his head, I remark to Mom, and she actually laughs. Everyone seems to have mellowed enough for conversation to flow easily during our meal at the restaurant. I'm relaxed and enjoying myself more than I would have if we'd had a big reception. All the people I care about most are gathered at this table, and I get to savor this time with them on this special day. The best man gives a simple, heartfelt toast to a happy, loving marriage and healthy children. We don't have a wedding cake, but the staff surprises us with a cake they usually serve when someone is celebrating a birthday in their restaurant. Congratulations, they tell us. You gonna eat that? Justin asks me after he devours his piece. I haven't touched my piece because I'm full from my meal. I hand it to Mom so that she can pass it down to Justin. My heart suddenly swells with love as I watch my brother eat my piece of cake. He's here with us today, and I don't take that miracle for granted. Thank you, God, I think gratefully. I'd like to propose a toast, Uncle Dave says. He raises his glass. To swimming with sharks. We all laugh, but Justin shouts, Yeah! But seriously, Uncle Dave continues. To the adventures Mila and Silas will have together, and to their life together, but also to life. Some of us, he pauses briefly with a glance at Justin. Some of us have had some close calls, but we're still here. So, to life. To life, we all echo. My gaze jumps from Uncle Dave to Mason. He's got a pensive expression, but his glass is lifted in toast to life as well. I know that he's thinking of Tyler. My eyes shift to Silas as I turn my head to look at him. He's watching me with a bright and wondrous expression. I'm alive, he says, and leans in to give me a kiss that sparks that same feeling within me. I'm alive too, and I'm about to depart for an adventure with my handsome groom. We've only got an hour left before we need to leave for the airport, so we go back to my house to get ready. Everyone else follows us there except Mason. He wishes us a good trip and goes home from the restaurant. I don't know how things stand between him and Shelby, and I don't get a chance to talk to her alone at my house. My parents' house. I no longer live here. Mom is hovering over me as I get ready, acting like she'll never see me again. She helps Shelby detach the long section from my dress, turning it from a gown to a short, sexy dress. I feel almost indecent as Silas stares at me when I return to the living room. It's different than how he looked at me when he saw me walking down the aisle toward him in the church. There's an energy between us that I've never felt before. Silas has changed out of his tuxedo into casual pants and a navy blue polo shirt. I had told him not to go completely casual for the plane ride, because I would still be in a fancy dress. He knew that part of my wedding dress was detachable, but he hadn't known exactly what it would look like. He takes my suitcase and wheels it out to his car, while my parents take turns hugging me goodbye. Justin reluctantly lets me hug him too. You're just going for 4 days, he grumbles. But I'm moving out, I remind him. Only 2 hours away, he says disparagingly. It's not like you're moving to Phoenix. Uncle Dave smiles ruefully at that comment. You know you're welcome to come visit me anytime you want, Justin. You too, Mila. That would be cool, Justin tells him. During my vacation next month, Uncle Dave suggests. You could stay the week with me, and I'll show you around. Yeah, Justin agrees. Can I, Mom? Of course, she answers, but she looks a bit bewildered by these sudden plans. Oh, my babies are leaving me, she says in a not completely joking manner, although she smiles like she's kidding. She watches me as Uncle Dave hugs me and tells me to have a good trip. Shelby makes it seem like goodbye forever when she tells me emotionally that she's going to miss me so much and grabs me in a fierce hug. I'll text you when I get there, I promise. But she looks at me like I'm crazy. Michael is already outside with Silas. He's driving back to his apartment as soon as we leave for the airport, and he's giving Shelby a ride home. He claps Silas on the shoulder and smiles at me in parting. Everybody stands there waving at us as we pull away, and I keep waving until they are out of sight. Now it's just me and Silas, but I'm immediately distracted by a text message from Shelby. It's your honeymoon. You won't be thinking about me, but I understand. Is everything all right? Silas asks. Yeah, I reply. Shelby was just wishing us a good trip. Oh, he says. She's a good friend. Yeah, I agree. And Michael is nice too. Yes, Silas agrees. Neither one of us seems to have much to say, but there is a charged atmosphere between us in the car. I didn't share Shelby's text with Silas, not because I was uncomfortable talking about it, because I don't know what to say to him about tonight. Anticipation is building within me, but voicing aloud that I'm excited about having sex seems strange to me. How do you have a conversation about that? Silas has to drive up almost to the top level of the garage at the airport to find a parking spot. He pulls me into a passionate kiss as soon as I unsnap my seatbelt. All his self-imposed restraint is gone, and it feels like we're going to consummate our marriage right here in the car when he runs his hand up my exposed thigh. He stops and pulls back, but his heated gaze falls to the spot where his hand had been seconds ago. We have to go, he says in a rough tone. We make it out of the car, but he pulls me against his body as he kisses me again. My legs are starting to feel like jelly by the time he breaks contact and steps away from me. That dress, he rasps between labored breaths. I look down at myself. The dress is short, but not extremely short, and it covers more than my swimsuit did in Florida last summer. Silas wasn't acting like he couldn't keep his hands off me then. You've seen me in a bikini, I remind him. But you weren't my wife, he explains. I couldn't touch you like I can now. His words send another thrill of anticipation shooting through me, but the headlights of an approaching car and any possibility of continuing our making out session here. Silas opens the trunk and lifts out our suitcases. We wheel them to the elevator and take the hallway to the terminal. After checking our bags and getting our boarding passes, we have an hour until our flight after we check through the security checkpoint. I'm too antsy to sit at the gate that long, so we wander around the shops for a while. I'm still getting attention in my dress, and it's not only from Silas. We just got married, I tell a man as I pretend that his interest in my dress was more innocent than it looked. Congratulations, he says. I smile before walking away with Silas. I wanted to wear my wedding dress all day, but detaching the long part of it made it easier and more comfortable for the flight. Except for Silas, apparently. He keeps looking at my thighs instead of watching the flight attendant's safety presentation. His sudden obsession with my body has become almost comical to me. Only 2.5 more hours, I tease as I whisper in his ear. He leans back in his seat and closes his eyes. I smirk at his attempt to avoid looking at me, but my own gaze moves down from his face to the open top button on his shirt and down to his lap. I'm staring at his belt buckle when I feel his eyes on me. My breath catches when I see the intensity of his gaze. My eyes drop quickly to my lap, and I yank open the zipper of my purse to rifle through it for gum. Here, I offer him a stick. It'll help when we take off. He silently takes the pack from me and pulls out a piece before handing it back. I pull out a stick for myself as the noise of the plane engine increases. Silas leans in to whisper in my ear after we begin taxiing down the runway. 2.5 hours. It seems like he started a countdown. We need a distraction, I tell him, and begin changing channels on the screen attached to the back of the seat in front of me. I find the headphones provided by the airline and indicate where Silas can find his. We end up watching SpongeBob SquarePants for the duration of the flight, and this seems to fit perfectly into the fluctuating cadences of our wedding day. It wouldn't be us if it wasn't at least a little different from the norm.